Hello everyone, and today we're going to be reacting to the Downfall of Chisgule Gaming video. Big thank you to obviously Chisgule for allowing me to react to this, but I'm going to flip it up. I don't think it should be called that. I reckon it should be called The Rise of Chisgule, because honestly, this video was, for me personally, one I really enjoyed for a very long time. It was like a different perspective of Chisgule, which I know as a person on YouTube, it's hard to try and keep your personal life and just kind of you separate from your content, right? Because people kind of do resonate with the person and the personality, and I really like this whole video because this was him just opening up, and you're able to just hear his thought process, the way he's thinking. Just very good feedback generally on YouTube, because a lot of people think YouTube's a very easy job. It takes time. It honestly takes a lot of mind, so it's very stressful at times, and you always need to be thinking, as you can imagine, of the future, because you can't, as he states in this first segment, you can't hope. You can't just hope things are working out. You have to have a plan. So let's just play this first snippet, which is to do with Call of Dragons mainly, as well as obviously content creation.
But now it leaves me in a weird spot of, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I want to continue to cover Call of Dragons, because I actually think, people hate to hear this, but in a lot of ways, the game is better than Rise of Kingdoms, but has big flaws, and when those are addressed, could be a better game, and maybe could become popular at that time. But to continue to be a YouTuber, okay, hope is not a strategy. It's not. Hope is not a strategy. Which means I need something more than hope that the game takes off to be my strategy for how I continue to YouTube full time, unless I want to go back to what I was doing before, which is product management and technology, which was fun, and I actually did enjoy it. And
I love it, right? So as you can see, so basically the problem is, as you can imagine, for everyone, is you can't hope, as we say, right? You can't hope for things to work out. And Call of Dragons, no matter what, like we say, is a great game. And I believe it's better than Rise of Kingdoms. And I like the fact that Chisgule agrees. He believes it's a better game than Rise of Kingdoms. And I'm guessing he means that as a foundational level, guys. So if you could imagine a game, if you strip it just down to its basics, this game has beautiful ranged combat. It really does. It has really good movement, obviously, of its PvP, and even just the way it plays. It's just a really smooth game. Just straight up, it's a really good mobile game. And when you're comparing it to Rise of Kingdoms, it just doesn't... I cannot go back to Rise of Kingdoms. I don't know how. Every time I try and boot it up, it just doesn't feel the same, right? But the problem is, as he mentions, there's just too many flaws at the current state of Call of Dragons. So what does this mean, right? Because at the same time, as he states, this could potentially not be a problem, because maybe over time, the devs are going to implement changes and good, positive, like, features that will boost the popularity of the game to a point where it might overtake Rise of Kingdoms, or it might reach the same level, right, of player base as Rise of Kingdoms. And they are their own two separate games, and they have their own two separate audiences, right? But that's the problem. You can't just hope for it, because if we're being honest, then let's be honest, right? When it's been this first year, the first year of Call of Dragons, right? I think a lot of players will say the first actual couple of months was kind of lit, right? It was really fun. People enjoyed it, especially if you was in the beta in the first few servers, like myself, because I was in server 4. It was really enjoyable because you could do everything you imagined. You could free heal quite often, so you could fight a lot. You could also get tons of rewards. Who would have thought, right? You could literally capture every single behemoth in your zone, and you got the rewards, even if it shares the same buff. Who would have imagined that, right? And you can do all these crazy stuff in the early game, but as this game's been progressing, you can see that the game's getting more restrictive, right? It's becoming more and more harder for a player to just start the game. And that is, I think, one of the biggest issues with Call of Dragons. And that is, I think, the biggest flaw with Call of Dragons is the just accessibility of the game. Because at first glance, right, people hate season resets, right? Because obviously resetting a hero is bad, right? Because you lose all your progress, and the only reason people hate that type of stuff is because of how long it takes to grind your heroes back. But they could have kept the seasonal reset strategy and just flat out on your next season, you gained like 5 times the amount of XP. And then the next season, it might have been like 10 times the amount of XP. So each season would get to a point where it might only take you, you know, a couple of days and you would have maxed out a lot of your heroes. So it wouldn't have actually mattered. It just shows a little bit of activity needed, right? And that still promotes the seasonal reset gameplay. But as we've seen Call of Dragons progress, it hasn't kind of kept its identity. As a lot of people meme, and as even I have kind of stated in the video title, this is kind of like Rise of Dragons now, right? It's like Rise of Kingdoms 2.0 fully in now. When we're fully in, I don't feel like I'm playing Call of Dragons. I'm just playing Rise of Kingdoms with the ranged mechanic they wish they could have implemented into this game. And I'm going to be truthfully honest with that. But that isn't also, you know, justification for dropping the content, because you guys know I'm a content creator just like Chisgule here, and I have this same dilemma where what do I do if Call of Dragons just isn't successful, right? Because you guys kind of know me as a Call of Dragons content creator mainly. You might love me for my, you know, British accent and my charm, but who knows, right? You all have your own views. But I have to think at the same time, right? I can't just rely on Call of Dragons even though I want to, but wanting isn't reality, right? You might want $1 million and you're not going to get $1 million. You have to work for it. You have to figure out a plan. And the beautiful thing is, when we look at the state of Call of Dragons and we just skip into around 8 minutes of this video, you'll hear Chisgule talking about one major issue that I suffer with, and I know a lot of other Call of Dragons content creators suffer with too.
Where Call of Dragons is kind of currently at in terms of viewership, like, yeah, that's where it's at. It just is what it is. So
it's a very simple statement. It's a very subtle statement. But what he's meaning there is when you look at, imagine a pie chart, right? You may imagine a pie chart and you have Rise of Kingdoms, maybe Affinity Kingdoms, State of Survival, all these different games, right, on this pie chart. And then you would look at Call of Dragons. And Call of Dragons is probably taking about 1%, if that. It's taking such little viewership compared to other games in the market. And that is a massive, massive issue, right? Because for content creators like myself, and you can imagine for other content creators like Meower, Guns, BotBN, Hulkster, even Chisgule, right? When we're making videos, we're hoping to get really good views because we expect the player base to enjoy the game enough to come onto, obviously, YouTube and just enjoy this style of content. But that is not the case. Like, on average, you would see a good, let's say, Call of Dragons video do between 1,000 to 3,000 views. Comparatively, if you go to Rise of Kingdoms, a good Rise of Kingdoms videos can easily get to 10,000 views, and it can go even higher, right? It's insane how many views they can go. So when you're trying to compare both games, you can definitely see the viewership is a massive problem. But I love what we go into in the next clip, right? Because let's kind of move away from some negatives, right? Of, say, where the game's at. Because from here, obviously, Chisgule starts to discuss about his other channels and his other games. And I'm going to just skip into this little section which might mention his game itself. But what's more important is I like this message, and I have a little bit of experience that I think he would have a smile on his face at the way I'm going to put it onto this video, right? So
signed up for City Building War Games wants a Battle Royale style game, okay? But if you do want to go check that out, go check out my second channel.
Definitely
now,
check out
obviously, you may
channel,
think,
guys.
well, if you're going to cover another game,
is lit.
Does that mean the quality of Rise of Kingdoms videos and Call of Dragons videos is going to go down? And I would say no. Actually, the opposite is true. The quality is going to go up. I think something that I've been doing that, look, I don't have time to do all these things. So the way to make more time is to do less stuff. The way to do less stuff is to hire help. So I'm going to be having more of my Rise of Kingdoms videos properly edited instead of doing it myself. And that costs me money, but like, yeah, it's the pay-to-win approach to YouTube. Hire somebody else to make your video. Or not make. I mean, I could do that. I would actually like to do that. But I'll hire someone else to edit the video. I'll probably hire someone to help with thumbnails as well, potentially.
So, really good bit, right? So, big shout out to Chisgule and anyone watching. If you wanting to edit for the guy, he's gonna, I'll put a little description link in the box down below, right? So you can find where to go. But just shout him out and he might hit you up. And as you can imagine, me being me, I'm very an opportunist person, right? I'd rather try an opportunity and not. And a lot of players or people in general and viewers might not, take this chance. And I just want to say, look, have the opportunity. If you think you're a really good editor, why not try and apply for Chisgule? Because I did it, and I'm not going to lie, I'll be brutally honest, I wasn't successful. But you can learn from this, right? Some people might say, look, Sneaky, he wasn't successful, stop what you're doing. It's like, why? Why would I stop what I'm doing? Because he actually gave me some really good feedback, right? We had a nice chat, right, for about, I say, like 20 to 30 minutes, back and forth, just talking about what he was looking for and what I'm able to offer, giving him examples. And then at the end, I wasn't successful, but he was stating, right, maybe the way I edit and the way he was looking for people to edit was just different, right? He might just want someone who can edit, every 5-10 seconds, certain, quick, smoother clips just to make it, faster pace almost of a video, which is fine because to me, that's valuable feedback. I might not have been successful, but I have taken that whole process and I've learned something from it. And I want everyone to kind of do that, right? If you ever at some point in life, like you want to do something, maybe it's like learn how to drive a car, right? You might want to learn a new hobby, right? And at first you might fail, right? You might fail. But I'm going to tell you from heart to heart, man, I had zero skills being a YouTuber. I hadn't done any of this before. I didn't know how to edit, don't know how to record, didn't know how to just upload, do any of this stuff. And I learned how to do all of this myself over a year and a bit, right? So if you're willing to work and you put in that effort and you figure out what you can do to go from A to B, that's what you need to do. Don't just look at something that like this, right? This is technically a step in my hurdle because this would have been a great opportunity for myself, right? To get better at editing and even on top of it, like get my name out, right? I could maybe go to other YouTubers and say, look, I edit now for 2 different YouTubers because secretly you guys won't know, but I am editing for another YouTuber. I'm going to keep that kind of private because it is, nothing to disclose there, but it's interesting, right? That I like the fact that this whole opportunity comes up in the video. I obviously take on that opportunity and I get feedback. And instead of just, feeling disheartened and just making it just something bad, you can flip it just like he's done in this entire video. He's flipped the situation of, potentially my channel could die, right? With depending on how Rise of Kingdoms goes throughout its life cycle. But how could I fix this? And I like that. It's the way you can just flip a negative into a positive and make it something that you can achieve. And I want everyone in this video who's still watching to honestly, don't just stop if you failed once. Failure is better than just being successful all the time. Because if you fail, you will learn way more from that failure than you will do from any success, right? So the last part I want to talk about in this video is in the 11-minute mark. So let's just go to the 11 minutes mark and I'm just going to let it play for you guys.
All I did was cover Call of Dragons and Rise of Kingdoms. I never looked to do anything else. I missed opportunities to play other games I would enjoy and liked. And also for this channel to fail, I think Rise of Kingdoms would have to fail. And I personally think that's pretty unlikely. Like, I actually think it's really, really unlikely that Rise of Kingdoms as a game just totally collapses to the point of complete irrelevance. I think the reality for Rise of Kingdoms, like many other city war building games that are out there and have been out there for a long time, is that there's enough new players coming in that the game is doing fine. And I'm sure they're making money hand over fist, quite frankly. And I don't think it's controversial for me to say that.
It's not, dude. It's not controversial. Anyone who's in this, genre of games knows Rock, right? And knows how much money this game must be making, right? To the point that they've been able to make a second studio, right? For Call of Dragons. So it's not controversial at all. And I really do agree with what he says here. And he has reasoning behind it, which is now.
Not at all. All that to say that the economy for the game developers is probably pretty healthy. And I would say that if you look at other city building war games, okay, that have been around for a really long time, they're not better than Rise of Kingdoms, but they're still here and people still play them.
Facts.
And I think a number of people realistically, the majority of people still playing Rise of Kingdoms are kind of locked in almost no matter what Rise of Kingdoms does.
And that's true. And I think that is the actual reality of the games. Because you got to think, Rise of Kingdoms has been out for such a long time now, right? And just think, this is kind of like anyone who's played RuneScape, played like World of Warcraft, you name it, right? Those type of games which takes an insane amount of time for your account to develop, right? And in this game, it's no different. The amount of time people have spent on their accounts, plus the money they might have invested in their accounts, I think they're just locked in now, right? They're locked in for the ride, and unless, and he does state this a little bit in his own video, unless something drastic happens where they do something to absolutely piss off everyone, which I doubt they can do. Unless you're Helldivers 2 right now with the PS, lock-in, I just don't see it happening for Rise of Kingdoms, you know what I'm saying? So I think he's definitely right in that. And at the same time, I think this whole perspective is a very eye-opener experience for Call of Dragons, because when we look into the actual game of Call of Dragons now, we come out of the video, you've got to think, right, as a Rise of Kingdoms player, you've got all of this investment into your account, and now you're going to look at Call of Dragons as a game. And this could be something you might have been interested in playing, but as soon as you see the heroes and you need to awaken the heroes, and it costs the same amount in this game that it does in that game, yes, you don't need to get gear like you do in Rise of Kingdoms at the moment for obviously Call of Dragons, but you do need to get all of these artifacts, and these artifacts still are insanely pricey to max out if it's a wheel-based one, right? And then on top of all of that, you have your war pets you need to grind on top, and you're only getting 5 warrants a day, so this is a very long grind as well, unless you spend money. So it's one of those things where, as a rock player, they look at this game and they probably just go no straight away. They'd probably look at it and go, it might have better gameplay. And they might agree. They're like, look, I'm not going to lie, that range gameplay looks amazing compared to our rock, face smash against each other, archer versus cavalry, is what it is. But when they look at it, they go, there's no way I'm willing to spend as much money as this game requires me to spend in order to play it. And that is the biggest issue with Call of Dragons right now. And I think if this game is going to be successful, Boss Nasty said it in a great video in his own, right? It needs to have that title, the best free-to-play friendly game. Like, I don't understand how a game of this magnitude doesn't try to strive for free-to-play friendliness, because if you can create a massive free-to-play friendly market, players will come who are big spenders, because the big spenders like to play where all the players are at. It's just kind of how the gaming ecosystem kind of works. And the beautiful thing is, when you have such a big free-to-play friendly game, you are always going to be able to attract new players no matter what, because the game's going to have abilities or accessibility to the player that it just never used to have. A really good example, just for this video purpose, is to do with pets, right? I'm only on 2 warrants at the start of the season, and as you guys know, with the brand new policy changes, they did add 1 extra one here. So you can get 3, and then on top of this, you can get 2 more over here, right? So that's your total, right? And then your merit store might give you 1 if you're a little bit lucky, right? But that's just not enough. It's such a good game mechanic, right? The ability to capture a pet right now in this game, and then skill upgrade, which was an amazing feature added to the game. But again, to do all of this, and you've got to think, as this game progresses, there's going to be more pets and more pets getting added. Like I did state when it first got introduced, and we've already seen some more getting added in. The more pets that get added, you need to add more warrants. You need to allow players to just capture the game, right? Capture the pets, because they're not gaining access to one of the features without spending. And this is hopefully gonna summarize the video, right? Because this has been kind of like a roller coaster journey, right? Where we've gone through Chisgule's video, spoken about his views on content creation, how the journey's been with especially Call of Dragons specifically, And then we've gone on to obviously the editing side and, you know, flipping it into a positive with my feedback, right, of that job proposal, right? And then on top of all of this, right, we're here. We're in the current state of the game. And I kind of am going to leave this video in the hands of you guys, all right? The way it's going to end is pretty simple. I just want you guys to comment down below the honest truth, how you feel about the game, right? Do you feel it's too heavy? What would you like to see just improved? And all of that gimmicks. Because at the end of the day, I'm a content creator and I don't want, obviously, Call of Dragons to ever die, right? I want this game to actually grow and become big because I love this game. You guys love me and I love the community to grow over time, right? But if that isn't going to be a possibility, I can't hope for that, right? And I need to think of a exit strategy, just kind of like Chisgule's did with his second channel and playing different games, right? So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It's a lot different compared to normal. It has been, you know, me speaking a little bit more from the heart as well as, you know, reacting to that video. And I want to say again, big thank you, man, to Chisgule for the feedback he sent in the DMs, and obviously I've taken it on board for the future videos, not particularly this one because it just doesn't really feel like it fits that style. As well as I want to thank everyone who's been watching, right? You guys have been a blast, and without you guys, I won't be able to do this as a content creator. So if you've enjoyed the video, smash a like, comment, subscribe, check out Chisgule's video. That will be in the link again down in the description. Just check it out. And until the next time I see you guys, you know what we say here. Stay safe, stay sneaky. Peace out.